Discretion is advised.
If you're feeling like a pimp, if the niggas call pimp,
Awesome Sauce! Hello, this is Awesome Sauce Radio here on Comic Crusaders. You also can listen to us on Demon Seed Radio, www.demonseedradio.com. I'm your host, live in the Living Color Wheel, Blind Adam Wonders, the comic pimp. Today we have an awesome and amazing guest. She has a YouTube channel called The Chilling Tales of Spoilers. She also has a blog called Scoop Animation. Samantha Kuber, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Enjoying the holiday season so far for spring holidays, and just podcast and trying to keep myself sane.
Same here.
Yeah. So can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself, the channel and the blog?
Yeah. So I've been running Scoop's Animation Corner for about 4 years now. I love animation, and this is just my way of sharing my thoughts with everyone and with the world. It's actually grown pretty well. Last year I got over 40,000 views, and I really hope to expand that. And then there's the YouTube channel I run with my friend Rachel.
Hey Rachel, how you doing?
She's not here.
I know, but I was going to send her a copy of this later.
Yeah. It's called Chamber of Spoilers, and it's there that we kind of look at pop culture through a Jewish lens and some other stuff. She does a lot of booktube.
Yeah.
But
I'm now reading 3 books because of her reviews.
So we collaborate on a lot of the Jewish pop culture stuff, and that's always really interesting.
Yeah, it's an amazing channel. I really, really love it.
Thanks, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. So you used to work for the Washington Jewish Weekly?
The Washington Jewish Week, yes. So I worked for this weekly Jewish newspaper down here in the DC area, and that was really interesting. I wanted to be a journalist in high school and throughout college, and this was my first real reporting gig. It was a very small paper, so I was always really busy, but even though I grew up Jewish, I still learned a lot and got a lot of different perspectives, which was really cool. But eventually it became a little bit overwhelming, and I had to quit because I got burnt out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know,
1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't become a big fan of animation.
how'd you become such a big fan of animation?
I've always liked cartoons, but I would have to say that the one that drew me in was definitely Avatar: The Last Airbender. I remember that, seeing the commercials for it, and actually part of the reason why I started watching it was that the person who voiced Aang, he was a friend of my brother's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my parents were like, hey, you should watch this show and kind of support him. It would be really cool. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that would be fun. And then it turned out to be a really awesome show. And that showed me what animation could be more than just what SpongeBob was.
Ah, yes, SpongeBob.
I love SpongeBob, but I didn't know that animation could do stories like that until I saw Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I became obsessed.
That's amazing. For me, it was most likely I've been hooked since most like Batman the animated series. And the old classic Fox Kids from Saturday morning cartoons back in the 90s.
Yeah. Lots of good stuff. I did like Batman the animated series and the Justice League, but when I watched them, I wasn't old enough to appreciate them for what they were.
Yeah, like I said, I think animation we're in a renaissance right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're coming. I think that a lot of new things will be coming out, and there's a lot of good shows right now.
What are some of your favorite shows on currently?
Well, I love Infinity Train. I did like the anime The Promised Neverland, but this previous season has been absolutely terrible, so I like the first season, but I hate the second season. And that's not an unpopular opinion. Craig of the Creek is really adorable. And that's just something I like to watch to kind of relax myself. On Netflix, there's Agretzko, which is really good. I love it. It's a nice Japanese workplace comedy kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's see, what else is there? There's a lot of stuff. I really liked Castlevania.
I still have to catch up on that.
Oh, it's really good. I got really into it. There's this new show out. It just came out this week. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and I don't know if it's available on my streaming platforms, but I've heard from people that Elliot from Earth is really funny and cute.
I can't confirm or deny because this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, it just came out and I hadn't heard much about it before. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out. From the web perspective, there's a lot of good independent artists. I like Hell of a Boss. I haven't seen Has Been Hotel yet, which is from the same creator, but I expect that's just as good. And there's this one independent animator who has this thing called like the Autodale universe. It's all set in like this dystopian city where everyone has to wear masks and not show their faces. And it's really fascinating and I really love it. Each story is a little different. There was a detective noir style one.
Sweet.
That was really good. And it's all in black and white. And the guy who does it, he does like 95% of the work all by himself.
That's AwesomeSauce.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know if you read comics or not.
I like manga, but I don't read a ton of comics.
Okay, I want to know, get your perspective on something from a Jewish point of view.
Okay.
There was a recent issue of The Immortal Hulk, issue number 43.
Yes, I've seen this online.
All right, Al, could please show the image. I wanted to get your reaction to this because I think Joe Bennett should have been fired, and I don't know how the fuck this passed the editors.
At first, I thought the sign that was supposed to say jewelry was just, a poor mistake, because that stuff happens. But the Star of David there really makes me think that it was done on purpose. And my guess is editors just didn't notice or didn't care. Anti-Semitism gets pretty pervasive, so a lot of non-Jews don't even really think about what could be construed as anti-Semitic or why this would be wrong.
It actually really, up to this issue, this is one of my favorite books from Marvel. That just totally put a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah, and it's really sad because a lot of comic books, even though I'm not into them, they have very Jewish origins. The big comics, and superheroes were all created by Jews, and often their Jewish roots get forgotten, especially now with all the cinematic universes.
Oh yeah, like I said, I want to get your take on this. Also gives me the first time to vent about it on mic. Because like I said, I just feel that Joe Bennett should have been fired, and I just, in this day and age, in the PC culture we live in, I don't know how that got past a bunch of editors working for Mickey Mouse.
Oh, Mickey Mouse doesn't care about the Jews.
I don't?
Nope. Walt Disney was an anti-Semite, so no surprise there. Everyone, there's the rumor, myth / whatever, that Jews, the conspiracy theory that Jews run the media, and honestly, that is, being Jewish, that's like not only untrue just from the fact that it's being controlled by a bunch of Christian cishet white guys, but the fact that if Jews did control the media, we would give ourselves better representation. There wouldn't be so many freaking Christmas specials.
Thank you. I hate Christmas specials with a fucking passion.
The only Christmas animated movie that I've loved is Klaus from Netflix. That one was really cute. It's like a Santa origin story, but it's actually good.
Maybe this year I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's the only one I like. It doesn't lean heavily into the Jesus-y stuff, nor is it like, ooh, you need to believe. It's kind of a buddy comedy sort of thing.
Yeah, like I said, I always get bummed out during Christmas time because there's like 900 Christmas specials, and there's, I think, 5 Hanukkah specials that I can know off the top of my head, if that.
I can only name like 3.
Let's see, Rugrats.
I guess Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights.
Yep. And those are the 2 I can just think of off the top of my head, just because I have 2 brain cells operating in my head at the moment.
I know that feeling. Yeah, there just aren't a lot of like really Jewish Hanukkah specials. Like Hanukkah gets mentioned in a lot of TV shows, but rarely is it given like attention, like it was in the Rugrats.
I love that Rugrats special.
Mm-hmm. The Passover special is good too.
I'll see if that's on YouTube. I've never seen that one.
It's good. Though I do prefer the Prince of Egypt.
Because I still haven't gotten to it yet. Rachel mentioned to me as well, and I just been kind of had an emotional week last week, so I've been playing catch up all week.
That makes sense. It has a really great soundtrack.
That's sweet. Okay. I don't know how much money or jewelry or anything else do I have to give you and Rachel to take a break from talking about that Trisha, whatever her last name is.
Trisha Paytas?
Yeah.
I think you gotta pay her to stop because she's just a gold mine of anti-Semitism. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but the latest podcast stream she did with her friend Ethan, is like 2 hours long, and it's all about Passover dinner.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know how much you would have to pay us, but like we can't. Like we got to build up this YouTube channel, and as long as Trisha Paytas is putting out what she's doing, we're gonna cover it, because not a lot of people call her out on her bullshit.
Yeah, I want to thank you for calling her. All kidding aside, thank you for calling her out on her bullshit. I also want to thank you guys, at least in the third one, the one where you guys did the whole trivia when were critiquing
the trivia one.
Trivia. I thank you guys for stop mentioning her OnlyFans at the end of it.
Ay.
I come on, OnlyFans. You're supposed to have some standards, damn it.
Yeah, she's really. I can't tell if she's doing all this on purpose, or if she truly doesn't understand why she's being shitty, or if she's like doing it for the views. I truly don't know at this point, and I don't really care, because she's either way, she's still spouting these harmful ideas, and she's being an anti-Semite. So as long as she keeps doing that, we're going to keep calling her out. I mean, we'll still accept payment to cover her less, but we're never going to completely stop.
Because if you guys want, I mean, we can just, pay her appearance day. We can get like a steel cage, and
I'd fight her.
Sweet. When comic book conventions come back, we can sit down.
That would be fun.
All right. This is a question I'm going to ask on behalf of the AwesomeSauce family.
Mm-hmm.
If any of my audience is considering converting, I heard this on my SoundCloud portion of the podcast, where I'm in the early stages of the conversion process. I've always been Jewish in my heart, and after this last year, I finally decided to just pull the trigger.
So the conversion process, I personally don't know a ton about that, but you have to go through a rabbi. They have to oversee the whole thing. It's depending on what synagogue you go to, what type of Judaism you're trying to convert to, Reform, Conservative, Reconstructionist. It's going to be at least a year of study.
Yeah, I saw that. For me, I'm doing Reformed, and it's going to be a year.
Yeah, it's a year of study under a rabbi, and even before you do the studying, some rabbis might reject you to see if it's something you really want. Judaism is a closed religion, and we don't seek converts, so converting is difficult. Jews have been oppressed for so long, and so we don't want just anti-Semites coming in. You gotta make it difficult. And in Judaism, there unfortunately a lot of people have a bias against converts, even though we're not supposed to. Converts are considered to have always been Jewish. They just found their Judaism. They were said to be there when Moses got the 10 Commandments, and their souls were there. So that's that. I grew up personally in a conservative synagogue, but that was because the only other choices was an Orthodox synagogue or a Reform, and my parents weren't comfortable with Orthodoxy, obviously, and they thought that the conservative synagogue was already pretty lax, because when my parents first went there, it was Purim, and that's a holiday where people dress up in costumes, and the rabbi was wearing a pig costume that said Rabbi Hammerman, and my parents were like, if this is the conservative synagogue, I don't want to know what the reform one's going to be like. So they're like, okay, we'll go here. This seems like a good medium. And so it was never very strict. Like, my family doesn't keep kosher. We went to synagogue often when I was little, and I went to Hebrew school and I had a bat mitzvah, but it's been harder to be Jewish as an adult. It's been easier when I worked for the Jewish Week, obviously, because I was really in touch with the Jewish community and I got Jewish holidays off. And it's really nice that I'm very close to a kosher market because it makes Passover a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I could imagine. I will do better next Passover.
Yeah, it's.
I did not realize until a day into it that I was not supposed to eat anything with yeast. And the Sunday morning of,
It's hard.
I ate a bagel.
It's hard. Like, I didn't keep Passover last year because it was like we had just gone into lockdown and I had just stocked up on food. And I'm like, I'm not going to the supermarket just to get all this food for 1 week because that's stupid. And I didn't keep it in college because that was hard, but I'm trying to keep it this year.
Yeah, thank you. That makes me feel a lot more,
Yeah,
I'm still new to everything, so I'm still at this point where it's.
You do what you can do. I mean,
I'm kind of at that puppy dog stage where I want to learn everything, and I'm really, at that figuring out stage point of it.
Yeah, no, Passover is hard even for those who keep it. For those who have kept it for years, like, it's hard. I never remember to eat enough fruit. And that always sucks because matzah just gets in there and just gums up everything.
I would have had matzah, but ever since last year lockdown, my mother's been doing the shopping for the entire house. And she, for some reason, I said, buy the smallest box of matzah you can find. And she came home with a very small box of mozzarella sticks.
Ha!
And I laughed. And I'm like, can I ask a question? How did matzah become mozzarella sticks? And
that is a good question.
She's like, if you can't spell for shit. What is the truth?
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah, you've seen my emails in my messages. You know, I'm actually, this is the first time I'm going to say this on mic. I actually have a little bit of dyslexia on top of my blindness.
Well, that sucks.
So when I write things, I get things confused sometimes.
Yeah, I have to admit, the inner copy editor in me cringes. I've had to do so much copy editing that I'm like, okay, don't say anything, Sam. Just you can understand what he's saying, and that's that. And
yeah. Actually, Rachel actually read my first draft of the screenplay that I've written, so I want to get some feedback on it. And she's like, there's a lot of problems. We have to talk. Oh
yeah, she was telling me about that.
So that's going to be interesting. Okay, what is the Infinity Train?
Okay, so it's this cartoon. It's on HBO Max. Each season is kind of a self-contained story, but they're all connected. Basically what happens is it all takes place on this gigantic train, and each car of the train holds a different little universe. And the train, basically, it kidnaps people who are having problems and forces them to work through it to leave the train. So like in the first season, the character Tulip, she's trying to get over her parents' divorce. So she's on the train. She has to figure out herself and her issues while also trying to figure out who this conductor person is and what's wrong with the train because it's not working the way it's supposed to.
Interesting. How many seasons does it have?
The 4th season is coming out next month. And unfortunately, it's the last one, which doesn't make any sense because it's one of HBO Max's top shows. And the creator had a total of like 8 seasons planned, but they decided that the 4th one would be the last. So all the fans are really disappointed, obviously. But we're hoping that in the future it could get picked up again. Each season has different characters. My favorite one so far is the 3rd season because it gets unexpectedly dark and deals with some really complex issues.
Cool. I'll give it a try. I'll add it to my ever-growing endless queue of shows to check out.
Oh yeah, it's really good. And each season's only like 10 episodes, and the episodes are only 11 minutes each. So it's really amazing. So it's really easy to get through, and it's like really well paced. So you can easily get through the whole thing when the next season comes out in a good afternoon.
I can do it when I'm trying to fall asleep at 3 a.m.
I would not recommend it to fall asleep. Some of it can get kind of nightmarish.
Okay. Okay. What do you feel is some of the best ways to fight anti-Semitism?
That's a really tough question, but I think what we need to do is better education. Lots of schools and especially the educational system really suck in teaching about Jewish history and the Holocaust. I mean, it's going to be really hard to fight anti-Semitism because it's one of the oldest forms of prejudice. This goes back thousands of years, literally. Though the modern form of anti-Semitism didn't come around till like the destruction of the Second Temple by the Christians. Like Christianity is basically steeped in anti-Semitism. So you would have to basically change Christianity, which is basically changing all of modern Western culture, to get rid of anti-Semitism. So the best thing we can do is mitigate it. Like anti-Semitism is especially prevalent in Europe, and they don't even realize it. And lots of people, because so many Jewish people in America especially present as white because we're European, because they have family from Europe, so they're white. They're kind of assimilated into American society. So people are like, oh, you're white. So Jews are privileged because they believe the conspiracy theories that all Jews are bankers, all Jews work in Hollywood. So therefore, they're this privileged class, and it's okay for us to attack them. When in fact, that's not true. Jews only make up 2% of the American population and less than 0.5% of the population worldwide. We're very much a minority group. And there's this idea that there's this vast network of us controlling the world is utterly ridiculous, but it's only something that you can recognize if you're Jewish, because it can also get kind of insular.
Yeah, I've heard more in the last, November, December, January, February, March, in the last 7 months since I've been studying, and just absorbing, the culture that I chose to be a part of, and I'm like, I never knew this was anti-Semitic, and holy shit.
Yeah, and even within Judaism, there's prejudices against different groups of Jews, which really sucks. You think we'd be more united, but there's Ashken normativity. In the US, Ashkenazi Jews, which are Jews who kind of come from Eastern Europe and their traditions from Eastern Europe, are the most, the biggest group of Jews. So that culture kind of dominates over Sephardic Jews and Ethiopian Jews, most of whom live in Israel, and all these other smaller groups of Jews. And I didn't even know of some of their traditions and how different they could be till I started going online more and interacting. There's an entire community of Jews in China. And for the longest time, they were so cut off from the rest of the world, they thought they were the only Jews left on Earth.
Oh, wow.
And of course, with everything happening in China, with the Uyghurs, they're having to lie low because they don't want to get killed. And I personally don't know any, of these Jewish people in China, but I know that that they've had a really rough history, and they only have like one synagogue, and no one really, and it's only recently, like in the past, like 30, 40 years or something like that, like very recently, that they started getting in contact with other Jews and like getting a Torah back because they had to sell their Torah.
Oh, wow.
And like no one could read Hebrew. This is all stuff I'm trying to remember, so don't take my total word for it.
Well, exactly. Like I said, this is probably the first time I've ever talked about it this in depth on the, on the mic before. So I appreciate you for doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem.
And I want to thank you and Rachel for every time I have a question. Always answering it for me too. Yeah, you guys and some of my friends I met within the Jewish Facebook groups have been really super supportive and super helpful, and it's been an amazing blessing.
Yeah, no problem. And so it's just there's really rich traditions that some don't know about, and I really think we should popularize these other Jewish traditions to show the beauty of the community. There are some Jewish communities celebrate holidays very differently. Some actually have holidays that other communities don't celebrate. One celebration that's really popular in the Sephardi community is Maimuna, which is a holiday that takes place when Passover ends. And basically it started because their Muslim neighbors would hold on to all their chametz, bread products for them.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, because they didn't have any of this stuff for the week, their neighbors would make all these delicious dishes made out of chametz, and they would all celebrate together.
Oh, wow.
And that's really cool. Like that's
awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun time. I wish Ashkenazi people had something like that, but since I'm not Sephardi, it's not like I can go to their celebrations, but it's not my holiday to, host.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Let's see. Have you ever consumed any Superman material?
I've never consumed Superman comics, but I did watch the original Superman, the animated series.
All right, sweet.
I'm familiar with the character.
All right, cool. Do you think Superman is Jewish?
I think that's an interesting question because while I think he was definitely created with as the Ubermensch ideal because his creators were Jewish, I don't know if Superman himself is. He's definitely a Moses allegory. He was in a society put down a river and sent to a new place, but I would like to think he's Jewish, even though he was raised in kind of middle of nowhere Kansas, where
Middle of nowhere Kansas, the breadbasket of America.
which is not really known for Jews, but I think Kryptonian society maybe was more Jewish. Like that's where
That's fascinating. I never thought of it from that angle before.
Because I definitely think this because Kal-El is kind of a Jewish name in a way. I forget the whole history behind it, but it's supposed to be a Hebrew name in a way.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
So I think while the Kents aren't Jewish, Kal-El comes from a kind of Jewish society.
That is very fascinating. All right. Thank you. I am lining up another guest to talk about the whole subject in depth. His name is Rabbi Sencha. He wrote this book on Jewish superheroes and Jewish comedy, and it's a really fascinating book.
Yeah, he probably can explain this a lot better than I can.
Yeah, like I said, I once again, something I would not get to bring up in a normal podcast. So, once again, this is awesome sauce. All right, why is this animated series Ghost City Chicken Soup for the Soul?
Okay, so City of Ghosts is just this really calming, adorable show. It's made with real interviews from real people in Los Angeles. And it's these little kids interviewing them, and they have like real kids doing the interview, voicing the characters. And I think it's Soup for the Soul because it's educating about all the different diverse groups in Los Angeles, but it's very calm, it's very slow, and it has this very optimistic feel to it. So it's kind of just very nourishing.
I really liked I watched the first one last week, and I fell in love with it.
Oh yeah, I did not expect to like it as much as I did because it's not normally the type of show I like, but it's absolutely brilliant, and I can't wait for them to make more. And I kind of hope they expand this to other cities and explore like the history of New York and all the different communities there.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but of course there's still a lot of places in LA, and they go into groups that, a lot of people probably haven't heard of. I learned a lot by watching it, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that first episode with the Chinese restaurant I thought was extremely fascinating.
Yeah, the Japanese restaurant one was fascinating. And then there's this episode later in the series that talks about an indigenous group to LA called the Tongva.
Oh, wow.
The Tongva people, and they even put in a bit of their language. And they have a kid who's part Tongva as one of the characters, and I thought that was really great. There isn't a lot of indigenous rep on TV, let alone children's television. So this one was great, and it was just like, yeah, this is it. And it does talk about dark subjects like the Japanese internment camps and cultural appropriation and cultural erasure, but it does it in a way that's, appropriate for children and that's accessible to anyone.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was hooked. I was hooked in about 5 minutes of the show. I was like, as soon as I got my audio descriptive working on my app, I was really like hooked into it.
Yeah, and it's really good too because a lot of it you can just listen to. Yeah. Because it's interviews.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Like we're really in a renaissance for animated programming at the moment.
Totally.
All right, out of all the insane Jewish stereotypes out in the world, What one pisses you off the most?
I would say the idea that Jews run Hollywood, only for right now, partially because there are a lot of Jews in Hollywood, but that has a really complex and interesting history, having to deal with all the Jews leaving Europe before World War II. And prior to World War II, Europe, particularly like France and Germany, were like the heart of the film industry. And so all these Jewish people who were in the film industry went over to America and went to California and went to the film industry there because they were accepted. But they still had but over time and everything, people had to, assimilate into society. And Jewish actors made their names less Jewish. They couldn't be outwardly Jewish. There were a lot of Jews, and they influenced our modern day culture a lot, but they also had to hide who they were a lot of the time. So it's this very complex group mixture of ideas and history. And that's really no longer true because, Hollywood is, because while directors and actors might be Jewish, the producers and the executives certainly aren't. And they're often axing Jewish ideas. I mean, like I was saying earlier, if Jews actually ran Hollywood, we wouldn't have so many Christmas specials and we wouldn't have such terrible stereotypes of Jews.
Oh yeah, the one thing that conspiracy theory / rumor that's been getting on my nerves, I've been seeing a lot on Facebook and on Amazon, is the secret space laser.
Oh no, that one is actually funny. So actually,
Yeah,
I know a lot. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I know a lot of Jewish people, we just think it's so ridiculous that we joke about it.
Yeah, let me ask you this: from one Jewish person to another, how long after I convert am I allowed to use this alleged space laser?
You got to sign up for the list. It's a really long waiting list.
Okay.
You can sign up right after once you're done with the conversion process, but the waiting list is like a year long. So
yeah, okay, I can wait. I have Jewish people who I just want to be like, all the jokes you put me through, I'm not going to use it. I just want you to let yes, it really does exist. But it's taken on a life of its own. There's T-shirts and buttons.
Yeah, a lot of this is actually by Jewish people just because we think it's utterly ridiculous. And we're like, okay, time to space laser that anti-Semite. Jewish humor is interesting because it does try and make fun of these stereotypes. But then when non-Jews try to use them, they just come off as anti-Semitic. It's really hard to differentiate the anti-Semite sometimes from legitimate humor. Like, just because Mel Brooks can do it doesn't mean, like a Christian Smith could.
Yeah. And, it's, and comedy is such a weird, animal on its own. Because what's funny to someone, may not be funny to someone else, and you just got to take your audience into consideration.
Yeah. Good comedy is hard. Comedy is hard to write. I can't write good comedy.
Rule number one is just know your audience and know that there's going to be times when, and I learned this rule from the Joker, you're always going to take punches or shots from people who just don't get the joke.
Yeah. The main rule of comedy is to punch up, never punch down. So basically, you can always punch up at like landlords, Jeff Bezos, the president, things like that. But the issue is that so many people think Jews are the higher ups that they often punch at Jews when Jews are just as equal or even lower on the pole as they are. But the key is there are always certain people you can make fun of. But the issue is people don't always recognize that. Like, you can always make fun of the founding fathers.
Oh, yeah.
The British monarchy. That whole thing's utterly ridiculous. And
Yeah, my thing is you can make fun of anything. It's how you do it, and as long as you're legitimately in your heart of hearts really not trying to hurt anybody, and that's the main thing.
yeah, I think it can be kind of hard to separate intentions from impact.
Yeah.
So I go with the key of, okay, you can make fun of the rich and powerful. You just got to actually make sure they're the rich and powerful.
Oh, yeah. You okay?
Yeah, just a little bit of a dry throat.
What future plans do you and Rachel have for shilling spoilers?
Can you repeat that?
What are your future plans, you and Rachel, for the Chilling Tales of Spoilers?
So for Chamber Spoilers, we have a few things in the works, but a lot of what we do is just kind of spur of the moment. We'll see an idea and we'll be a video and we'll be like, okay, let's do something on that. But we have a lot of ideas that we want to work on. I know that one of our next videos is going to be on Oscar bait and how Holocaust movies are Oscar bait, like Christians only make them to get awards. And I'm working on one that's months out because I'm doing a ton of research for it, which is basically the history of representation of Jewish women in pop culture.
Oh, wow. Can you do me a favor when you do that? If you have any notes on this comic book character called Kitty Pryde.
Oh,
who is the most prominent Jewish female in comic books.
Yeah, we might do that. I know I'm mostly focusing on film and TV, but I will definitely take comic books into consideration.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other ideas. I know I want to tackle anti-Semitism in anime and manga. The severe and things like that. But right now, we're just kind of on a break. We're both really busy job hunting.
Yeah, so I heard. How's that going for you guys?
We're both doing okay. I got a job rejection this morning, so I've been kind of sad, and there just aren't a lot of jobs out there, and I've been unemployed for over a year now, so it's kind of demoralizing. I left my job like a month before the pandemic hit.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah,
keep your spirits up, keep hunting, and if anyone in the audience, knows of something hiring, put it in the comments, please.
Yeah, I can write, I can edit, anything writing related or editing related, I can do.
All right, sweet. If I hear anything, I'll definitely pass it along your way.
Sounds good. And I know Rachel and I are definitely looking forward to when the pandemic is over, because then we can start doing videos together.
All right. No, I was just checking, making sure I didn't get something from the world's greatest producer. All right, so I guess in a way you already answered my next question. Will we see more of you on camera?
Yes, we will. It's just easier for Rachel to do it. It technically started out as her channel, but I will definitely be appearing more. It'll be in more stuff that I come up with and write, but definitely I'll be appearing more on camera, but usually I'm behind the scenes because that's where I'm kind of more comfortable, but I'm looking forward to being on camera more.
Yeah, because I think the first time I saw you on camera was in your Anti-Semite of the Week series when you had the vegan that vegan teacher.
Yeah, that was my second time on camera. I did a short Infinity Train video that I didn't love, but the vegan teacher was definitely a better video, and that one was easy because I just did it very quickly and I had more time than Rachel. It's all very much who's writing this, who has the time, because we'll basically write our own scripts and then look it over, but for the longer videos, we rotate. Since I have a little more experience in that department, I kind of polish it up and make it snappier.
Yeah, cool. Like I said, I've said this a few times. Keep up the amazing work. It is an amazing channel. You guys it always puts a smile on my face.
I'm glad.
And
that's what we're there for.
It's educational. So it's awesome sauce.
16 will see more than 17. Like in the 15 grade to 18. 18 will be Wakanda with Powerpuff.
Were you guys talking about Powerpuff Girls growing up?
Oh my god. I loved the Powerpuff Girls growing up. It was one of my favorite shows, and I know you're going to ask about the reboot, and I think it's a terrible idea.
All right. The only thing I like so far is 2 members of the cast.
Here's the thing. I don't like the concept of live action reboots of cartoons in general. I think they're a bad idea, and they're very disrespectful to animation. And for Powerpuff Girls, it doesn't make any sense. It misunderstands the entire concept of the series, and they don't. Like, I just don't understand it as a good idea.
Well, it's a CW. They're going to make them 20-somethings. They're going to be emo.
Yeah, I know. And that's just bad. Like, there was one episode of the Powerpuff Girls that already showed them in the future, and that was funny. They were just vapid teen girls, and it was funny. And they already dealt with the girls dealing with being superheroes. In canon, they like it. They enjoy it. No one's forcing them. If it wasn't for them, the entire town would be running amok. So they take care of it. They've already dealt with the issues that this reboot series is going to deal with. And I just think it's hugely disrespectful that they're like, okay, let's take this beloved property of the 90s and early 2000s, and then we're going to take it and make it for the teenagers of now, because they're not marketing towards the people who have already seen the show, nor are they marketing it towards people who kind of grew up with it. They're aiming it at this weird demographic who either grew up with the original or did the animated reboot, neither of which is going to directly impact this.
That reboot does not exist.
Yeah, it doesn't. So it's just this really odd idea that I don't understand who their target demographic is.
Yeah, the only thing that got me slightly jazzed is they got Chloe Bennett and Dove Cameron, as part of the cast.
I have no idea who those people are.
They were both in an animated series called Marvel Rising.
Oh, I've heard of that. I haven't seen it. I'm not really into this.
And Chloe Bennett's been Daisy Johnson on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I'm not really into the cinematic universes, the superhero cinematic universes. I used to be, but then it just got overwhelming, and watching them just kind of felt like homework.
Yeah, I always get way behind because it's just way.
Yeah.
No, it's too much content to consume.
Oh God, yeah, that's going to be another thing we're going to talk about, are like these cinematic universes and the glut of content. Like at that point, it doesn't even become about writing something good. It's just about putting in Easter eggs and references. And it's becoming this nerdy gatekeeping fandom that it was like that the nerds that people today think of when they think of comic book nerds of like the 80s, like, well, in volume 7, page 17.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
Nerd.
in Endgame, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't freaking care. I'm not going to do homework to enjoy my TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. Where can my audience find you online?
So I'm at scoopsanimationcorner.wordpress.com, and my Twitter is at samscoopcooper. Okay. And I tweet a lot because I don't have anything better to do right now.
That's fine. I mean, depending on how badly Rachel reams me tomorrow, on how awful that my first attempt at a screenplay was, I may actually want to throw somebody away to rewrite it for me.
Oh my God. I've actually done a little bit of script writing. Not a lot, but I've had to but it's turned into this whole thing that I'm doing a creative consulting for, only it's been kind of dry the past few months, so nothing has really happened. But at first I was helping rewrite this. It was okay, this script for a possible animated series, but it's going in a different direction now.
Oh, wow. Well, that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being one of my friends. I want to thank you for coming on tonight and sharing with me as well as my audience. And, you know, like I said before, whatever I can do to help you or Rachel, you guys always have a welcome invitation to come on the show anytime you want. You know, whatever I can do to help you guys, it's been one of the blessings for the last 7 months and through this pandemic. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, no problem. It's been great.
So I'm going to wish you a happy Passover, and I'm going to wish you an amazing night.
Happy Passover.
Yeah. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. I love you all. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you wash your hands. Remember, you don't need sight to have a vision. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. I want to wish everyone a happy Passover, a happy Easter. Enjoy your time with the family and spring. I hope everyone's getting their vaccines and the whole 9 yards. I also want to thank tonight's sponsor, Key Collector Comics, www.keycollectorcomics.com. One of the best comic book apps on the planet. Testify. Bing, bing, bing. Bing, bing, bing. So they're $1.99 a month. They're like $20 a year or something. But if you type in Blind Adam, all one word, you get the first week on the house. So check them out. Tell them Blind Adam sent you. Use the code. Key Collector Comics, thank you for the support of the show, and love you, man. As anyone wants to sponsor the show, you can send me an email at comicpimpvip@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at The Comic Pimp. On Instagram, Comic Pimp VIP. My YouTube channel is AwesomeSauce Radio, presented by Blind Adam. If you please like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that. I'd like to get up to 200 subscribers by June 1st. And I may have a giveaway coming up to help me get to 200. I have to, do some stuff behind the scenes. Go boom, shaka, shaka, boom. Yeah. Please check out the Chamber of Spoilers podcast. Show Rachel and Samantha some love because they're awesome sauce. I also want to give a shout out to my homie Mel V, Drunken Chat's son. I think I'm going to make an appearance in Drunken Chat this week. They're going to be all blind on them out.
Thank you. We hope you've enjoyed this Comic Crusaders production. For real-time news on all things pop culture, please feel free to follow us on social media. For articles, original content, merchandise, and more, please go to www.comiccrusaders.com. Also follow along with all of the websites of the Comic Crusaders family. As always, if you like this content, please click like and subscribe to the Comic Crusaders YouTube channel.